I don't like this vibe, bruh. There we go. What's up, fam? It is chapter 6 of the 50th law. 6. This week is all about leading from the front and authority. Leadership. Even if someone is in a leadership role consciously or subconsciously without them knowing. I can't see through the red tint on these glasses. You must adopt the opposite style. Imbue your troops with the proper spirit through your actions, not words. They see you working harder than anyone, holding yourself to the highest standards, taking risks with confidence, and making tough decisions. This inspires and binds the group together. In these democratic times, you must practice what you preach. Actions speak louder than words. You could be saying all this hoopla, but do you have the evidence to back it up? Are you showing up every day? Are you doing what you gotta do? Are you making the dream work? He knew from past experience in life that people will continuously try to take from him, if that's with doubt or challenging your powers from what you've created. There's always going to be people in life that try to challenge you. Why is my hand itchy? What does it mean? Later on in his careers, executives and managers were trying to basically PR perfect 50 Cent. He was very bold and did things not in a conventional way. They were trying to wrap him up in a tiny, neat little bow and be like, this is how you should be. If he listened to them, he would have lost everything that made him unique, everything that made him stand out. Of course, 50 Cent did not listen to them. If he chose to be like everyone else after his successes, he would have been choosing the safe route. And in that moment, the dynamics would have shifted within his power and of being a leader. For example, in 2007, Curtis Jackson was dropping his third album called Curtis. And a little birdie told him a video got leaked for his upcoming album before the actual release. And they had a whole schedule planned out of videos and things that were supposed to come out with songs at a proper time. So he instead was like, you know what? They're planning on leaking this. Let me leak it even more. So he sent it out to everybody, every media station, everything, and got it leaked. Then he was like, let me show these mofos. And he staged a freak out in a hotel room, smashed a TV. I don't remember if it was necessarily a hotel room, but it was a room. Smashed it up, got it all crazy, got somebody to take photos of it, and then leaked those photos. And his management didn't even know that it was staged. And that was all a part of his plan, because his management was trying to control him and say, you can't do this, you can't do that. By it going crazy that his video got leaked that bad, it seemed like it was a wrongdoing on their part. Even though he started it and then made that freak out. So they're like, oh snap, we really messed up. So he told them, I'm not going to do any more publicity until we do things my way. And he got his control back. Baller. They could laugh at his out-of-control antics, not realizing 50 Cent was directing the drama and would have the last laugh. And that he did. On page 155, when I reached the top in business, I adjusted to my new position. I became bolder and crazier than before, and I listened even less to people who tried to slow me down. 50 Cent. Throughout history, there's people that stood out of a crowd because of a skill or a talent. And those people tend to end up in leadership roles. Once they're in that leadership position, there's usually two routes that they go. One, they have the choice of staying bold and true to what initially got them there, or with being in such a high pressure position and all these people yapping and bapping around, they can grow extra cautious and conservative. All what that does is hinder their growth and their power, because then people from underneath them are manipulating them on their decisions. And that's just not how that should be. People who are fearless do not shrink. Gandhi is one of them. Winston Churchill, a second. Those are a couple great examples. They rose up to their position in an extraordinary way, and they stayed there. They stayed firm. They didn't sway depending on the crowd and what was said. They held their ground. A leader who is great is out in front, setting the tone, getting their hands dirty. These are people that are like on the scene, making it happen. They're being a part of it with the people they're working with. It's not like a CEO that's in the back, that's just like never seen. People say that that's like being like a virtue with the back, letting the people take control in the front, but the book explains and goes into further detail about how that's more of just coming from a place of fear. Page 159. This should be your perspective as well. You start with nothing in this world. Any titles, money, or privilege you inherit are actually hindrances. They delude you into believing you are owed respect. If you continue to impose your will because of such privileges, people will come to disdain and despise you. Instead, only your actions can prove your worth. They tell people who you are. In a culture full of fakery and hype, you will stand out as someone of pure authenticity and someone that is reliable by if you say something, you then go do it. You don't keep talking about it. Just freaking go do it. Go get it done. All right? There's so much power in just taking action, even if you start without even knowing how. Now, we're going back in the past. Think about, I gotta take this guy out. It's like, I'm claustrophobic. Think about how there's many different people in this life. There's different levels of talent, ambition, assertiveness. And one person's interests do not converge onto all of the things. Does that make sense? Humans are innately selfish, okay? They will think of their own agendas. Even if they're trying to come from an unbiased standpoint, that will still be there. So for this purpose, that's where leadership came from. That's where like a king came from. So that they could make the hard decisions and end all the yippee yappy and like separation in a crowd. Back in ancient times and cultures, kings that were appointed were ritually like killed after a certain amount of years so that they would not turn into an oppressor. I wouldn't want to be a king. Like, I want my life. I want to live. That's absolutely insanity. When I read that, I didn't know that, and I was like, what the flip? An example of someone that stood in a leadership role, and one that was very difficult, is Moses. He had been chosen and appointed by God to lead the Hebrews out of Egypt in slavery. And they were promised the promised land after 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. There wasn't much food or shelter or basic comforts. Moses had it in the ringer because they constantly doubted him. They came to hate him. People were planning his death. They were plotting against him. And still he stayed true to what God's plan was for him and continued on. Every now and again, God would perform a miracle to just like calm the waters. But people ended up just like totally seeing past that and were still agitated and didn't have faith. Moses decided on a quick solution. He was like, let's unify the 12 constantly divided tribes around a simple cause, which is God and worship. The Hebrew word for lead means to be out in front and to drive. So Moses took the steering wheel and led. No matter what was said, no matter what people tried to do, he learned to play the role that was necessary for him. The force of his conviction and his determination to make this happen successfully in the vision that God created is what kept him going with even everyone saying, nah, this ain't it. He's a legend for absolutely like not backing down. Back then, it was more of a tribe mindset. Like what's going on with the vibes, what's going on with the whole group. Today's day and age, it's more self, like career driven, our interests. It's more just like solo dolo. There are 4 types of leadership roles. The first one, the visionary. Thinking ahead requires a particular thought process that comes with practice. Being able to see something from a practical and achievable standpoint and what you can accomplish if that's months or years down the road. Like a lot of people initially just think of what's in front of them and what's going on at this moment. Remember, look up and look out. What can you expand to? And then instead of, oh, I can get there in this one direction, let's say that this is where you wanna, this is the idea, or this is the goal. We wanna make all of these paths. Does that make sense? There's multiple paths. So you wanna look at all of the surrounding paths around you. You don't wanna just pick one. Like think about all the possible ways that it can come to fruition and then execute it. And if that means sprinkling a little on one path, sprinkling another on another path, and seeing which way is the strongest, and then going full freaking force. Crack myself up. If you have a group of people and one of them isn't specialized up here in visionary style thinking, there's going to be no direction, and it's all just going to sort of stay stagnant. Creating that skill within yourself is huge to keep momentum. And when you're going from like a visionary outlook and perspective, you want to have some pizzazz, some spice, some flair. Because if you go from it with like very cut dry, like boring ways, and you need the creativity. Because in that creativity and that extra flair will then sprinkle into other ideas and new routes and new paths. Voila. The excitement that you get from just having these goals and these visions and self-belief will convince people that you know where you're going to be and that you should be followed. And that gets you into that leadership position. You know, even though you're not there yet, you are going to get there. Come on now. The unifier. As we were talking about earlier, people have their own narrow agendas and goals. So if you have a group with no leader, they're all gonna fraction off into their own thing and then just be like, to each other. The glue. The unifier is the glue to the chaos of life. It's not enough for the unifier to just have like a enthusiastic personality and be very... You also need to incorporate, let's say if it's ethical, political, progressive, knowledge and views within it. Like there needs to be a reason of like learning, growth, inspiration. What makes this glue a better quality than other glues? What makes this glue have 4.5K ratings on Amazon, 5 stars, over the 45 ratings of 2 stars? Like there has to be a substantial quality ingredient of what makes the unifier and bonds people very strongly. To play the unifying role effectively to a T, you need to be living out that way of life and everything that you're speaking on. Actions speak louder than words. If you're speaking those words, back them up with your actions. Number 3, the role model is one that knows the extent of their power, but it not being the focal point. That means softening your image, if that's with inspiration, the way you are instructing, it being with a more energizing energy, and operating with a specific mission statement of how you want to contribute to society or whatever niche group you are a part of. Number 4, the bold knight. Every group has a collective energy and it tends to create its own inertia. You are bold. You are a leader. You rose up to the top by the virtue of your own desire. When you are in groups like that, they will try to tamp down everything you try to do and just neutralize your power, let you sizzle into the background. But you remain bold and you remain an enterprising knight. You keep it going. You got your shining armor on, you're riding your horse, you have your sword, and you're going to the dragon. You're slaying that fool. And the fact that you force yourself into new projects and new domains, and they're watching you, and you don't care about the possible dangers of the horizon, you're no longer going to be on the defensive. You're going to be on the offensive, because this will excite them and give them a feeling of movement. They're going to be like, wait a second. What's brother doing over there? Hold on, maybe he's on to something. Why didn't I think of that? That's inspiring. That's really cool. And then simply adding just like a little bit of the aggression that we talked about last week for chapter 5 will really keep you solid in your knight and shining goal. That was really cringy. Wow, Amelia. Overall, they get used to seeing you in the front, and they grow addicted to the excitement that you bring with each new thing that you put out, each new campaign, each new idea. They can't get enough. They just want more. What's Chef cooking up back there? Because I need another meal. Guys, that was chapter 6. Stand in your power. We are leaders. There's 2 paths. Are you going to be a leader? Or are you going to be a follower? That was a great chapter. It was the longest chapter by far. And there are 10 chapters in this bad boy. So we got 3 left. I will be posting an art vlog video at some point next week as well, because we got an art show this weekend, and it's the first one of 2026, the first of many. We rise!